Old car parts may be fragile and brittle. Use caution. Always disconnect the 12-volt battery when working on electronics in your car.
In this video, we're going to change out this stock head unit on a 2012 Scion IQ to a 9-inch Android Auto Apple CarPlay capable display using an enclosure from AliExpress that costs less than $30 and is meant to fit these universally designed Android or car display head units in this shape. So you have to look for a model that looks like this in 9 inches. There are a lot of these on AliExpress, Temu, eBay, etc. And it's a hit or miss on whether or not the one you get is good or not. I'm getting a cheaper one from Temu. It cost me about $70, and it's supposed to be a Linux-based system, so it boots to a home screen and then connects to Android Auto, and everything is pretty much processed by your phone. We won't get into too much details about this specific unit. The connections are pretty much universal for this type of device. There are some that's full Android, but those can cost over $100. Usually those take a lot of hardware for it to perform decent because it has to run Android on top. So I'm just sticking with a basic Linux-based one where it boots up and it quickly connects to your phone so that the driver gets to Android Auto quickly. First, we're going to take apart this section of the dash needed to remove the stock head unit. Just pull out this segment with the fan controls and the vents. Pull it towards you. It's simply held on by clips. You can rest it like this and remove 2 connectors on the back. You squeeze them under tabs to release them. The larger one takes a little bit more effort, but it comes off. Put that to the side. Now the top portion also comes off by pulling it towards you. Don't pull it all the way off yet. You'll have to disconnect this airbag notice light. Press the tab in and pull it out. If you've never removed this before, the cable is also held in on the top by this clip here. But I bought this car used, so it looks like the owner has already removed it before and the clip is no longer holding the wire in place. But you have to be aware to remove this clip from the wire, otherwise the wire is going to be attached to this cover. This airbag notification light will be reused on the new bezel, so we're going to remove it later. The stock radio is held on by these 4 bolts. They were 10 millimeters. Simply take them off and pull the radio towards you and then off to the side like this so you can access the wiring. Be careful not to scrape the dashboard with the metal bracket. Here's a look at the back of the wiring of the stock radio. It looks pretty complicated and it looks like the previous owner has did something to this before, but everything still looks intact. This looks like a USB connector. Let's start by getting this antenna connector off. Next, we're going to take off this proprietary Pioneer connector. Take off the last 2 over here. And this gray one that I thought was a USB connector can't be removed at the unit itself. It extends out and you remove it from here. There's the stock head unit fully released. Just put it aside. Now let's take off the harness that connected the stock unit to the car itself. It's like a mid harness. Take off this one from the blue one. These all just come off by releasing the tabs. Next is the antenna connector. The antenna connector on the car itself is a standard sized one. It should just fit in the back of the new unit. And there's 2 more other connectors here. So what you're going to have is 2 mid harnesses that come separated. One is for the auxiliary input and steering wheel controls, and the other one is a standard antenna and the Toyota interface. We're going to be reusing the one on the left because we want to access the steering wheel controls. Now let's take a look at the new housing. Because this is specific to a Toyota or Scion IQ, it came with a wiring harness that attaches to the universal display, and the other side goes into a Toyota. Here's an overview of the housing. The finish actually looks pretty good. It matches the factory finish almost perfectly. But if you notice, this part right here is bent, and that's because when they shipped it, they didn't put it in a box. They just wrapped it in some bubble wrap and it got damaged during shipping. But I think when I assemble it and it's in the other frame, it's going to correct that bend. This opening on the top here, you would think it's for a pocket or something, but it's actually for the airbag alert lights. And here's the display unit I got from Temu. It's a universal looking one. Like I said, you never know what you're going to get. But here's the back of the unit. It has these universal connections. The front has touch sensitive controls for the power, home, back, volume up and down. Some don't have any controls like this, but this one does, which I like. And it comes with its own set of cables, specifically audio, video out, video in, and USB cables. We're going to attach this display to the 9-inch universal frame. You have to put these brackets on the display and then screw the display onto the bezel. So unlike the stock unit, which is screwed onto the dashboard and then the bezel goes on top of it, this one is screwed onto the bezel itself. So let's start by screwing on these brackets to the display. And this is how it looks with the bracket attached to the display unit. Now we're going to mount the display unit from behind to the 9-inch bezel. It goes on like this. There's already pre-drilled holes there. Here's a look at it from behind. It's actually very secure mounted this way. Here's a look at the front. You don't see any gaps between the screen and the bezel. The microphone is right there. And again, you see where that bend is from the shipping. Here's a look at the stock bezel housing compared to the AliExpress aftermarket one. And like I said, the finish actually looks pretty nice. But now we have to swap out the stock one and assemble the 9-inch one. Alright, here's the stock housing. You notice all these screws here, 4 over here and 2 on the top. We only need to take off the 2 on the top. And for you to release it, you have to release these tabs on the bottom and flip it over to the top. It requires a little bit of force, and if you're not careful or if it's really old, you might break it, so gotta be pretty careful here. I released all 4 by lifting it up first and then pulling the outer edge towards me and pushing the inner housing away and then pushing the tab to the other side. There's 4 of these you need to do. Once all 4 is flipped to the other side, you can see it opens up like a mouth. And now you just push the tabs in from the back to release them. And there you have it. It's freed from the larger housing. Now to take apart the airbag light assembly. It's just secured by 2 tabs on the top and bottom, so just pull them apart. I had to use the plastic pry tool to help me out. Now when I put it back on the new housing, I have to remember that the wire was on which side, because I don't want to have it stretched over to the other side. So in this layout, the wire is going to be positioned on the left-hand side when you're facing it, like when you're looking at it. So it's on the same side as the touch buttons on the screen. Just push it into the tabs, it'll lock securely. And here's how it looks from the front. It doesn't seem like it's aligned perfectly. Looks like it's a little bit too high. It's not very well centered, but that's what you get for buying aftermarket, right? You have to live with some little quirks. So now to put the housing into the larger one, start with putting in those 2 tabs, and then you have to flip those bottom horizontal tabs over to the other side. And by doing so, you fixed that bend that came from the shipping damage. It's barely noticeable now. You'll have to kind of look for any kind of damage. It's pretty straight actually now. Reinstall the top 2 screws here. And I should have did this before, but there's a screen protector on the display. Pull it off. And here it is, ready to be reinstalled. But before we can reinstall it, we have to prepare the wire harness. Like I said, this enclosure came with a Toyota specific wire harness. So we're going to be using that one instead, and not the one that came with the display unit. On the one that came with the enclosure, it has 2 Toyota specific plugs, and then there's one extra one that doesn't seem to fit, and it's not a typical Toyota plug. There's also a backup camera signal wire. Comparing the pinouts to the extra 3rd plug to the wire harness that came with the display unit, it's determined that these are the steering wheel control wires. But these don't fit anywhere in the Toyota harnesses. And I was able to determine from a wiring diagram that it's these 3 wires that are responsible for the steering controls. However, in the manual, it shows it as green, blue, and brown, and it's pins 6, 7, and 8. The pins were correct, but the colors were not correct. So it might have been something wrong with the manual, or maybe the previous owner changed out and swapped out different years. I'm not sure, but I'll have to tap into these wires. So I'm just going to cut that extra third plug off and utilize the cables. And it looks like the previous owner already tapped into these because there's already signs of other wires attached to these. So I'll just solder these on there. The black as the ground will go to the black, and I don't know which wire or if it matters for the signal wires. We'll just do one of each. I accidentally deleted the footage of me soldering the wires, but I'm doing the color combination like this: black to black, brown to red, and pink to blue. So here's the wire harness after I'm done soldering it. And as you can see, we're not going to reuse the one that connects to the antenna because that seems to be a proprietary plug on the Pioneer side. And there are other data controls that are not used in the 9-inch display. So that harness we're not going to use, but we're going to use the one I attached the steering wheel wires to. Although the plug on the bottom, it doesn't really have a purpose, but we're just going to leave the harness intact and plug that into the car anyway. But the wide connector on the top, that's supposed to go into the Pioneer radio. So we're just not going to plug that in. I don't want to destroy the harness in case I need to put the radio back in. So the steering wheel control signal is going to go through that bottom harness up to the 9-inch display's connector. Now we're ready to reinstall the unit into the car. And because of this different layout where the display is attached to the bezel, it's kind of hard to put the harness in there at the same time because the wires just don't reach. So I'm going to install the harness side into the car first and then feel for this connector here because it's easy to find just by touch. The antenna is also easy to find, and so is the SRS airbag light signal module. Let's see, the camera connector is these white tiny connectors, and that's going to be really hard to determine by touch. So that's why I have that one already installed in there, and we just have to plug in the video signal. Okay, so now we're going to install the wire harness into the car first. This one is used for the steering wheel controls. This small one is actually useless, but since it's just here, I'm just going to plug it in. And now the two Toyota standard plugs. Now we're going to bring the whole display unit with the bezel attached over here, and I'm going to put it in this position. It's like a clam. You can kind of see from the two clips there the approximate location of how it's going to go. So I'm going to install the longest wire first, which is the airbag light module. Next is the antenna for the radio. And now the main harness for the display unit. This is the backup camera signal wire. So when you put it in reverse, it triggers the camera. This was already here from the previous owner. And here's the video connector. Now you're all set. Make sure all the wires are out of the way. Align the clips to the holes back there and just push it in and you'll hear a click. Next is the fan control emergency signal button piece. Just reconnect the two control wires and snap it back in. Now let's check out the radio. Comes on fine. I'm going to check the signal lights and the fan controls to make sure everything still works.
I think this is a great modification and allowed me to have a modern, larger display for Android Auto in the vehicle. The fit and finish is pretty good and looks stock other than the airbag and seatbelt notification panel that is now sideways. You won't really notice it after a while, and the trade-off in what you can install in the car is worth it to me. The quality of the display and the functionality will depend on the unit you choose, but since it's a universal size, there are many choices to choose from. There will be a full review of this specific display soon, but this video was more on replacing the housing.